the Spirit Sessions podcast. I'm your guide, Katie Silcox, bringing you your weekly self-love soundbite. Join us, where I'll help you find your true spiritual home, where every single aspect of you is holy ground, holy ground, holy ground, holy ground.
This is a Spirit Session podcast with Katie Silcox. Venga chicos, empezamos.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hi everyone, Katie here. This podcast is intended to inspire you, educate you, and most importantly, support you on your journey towards knowing who you really are, that inner self, that inner teacher. I am not a psychologist or a medical doctor and do not offer professional health or medical advice on this podcast. If you are suffering from any kind of psychological or medical issue, please do the right thing and seek help from your qualified health professional. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I have an amazing topic for you today. I've been thinking about it, and if you follow me on Instagram, you know I just came from doing a week-long Panchakarma, which is an ancient Ayurvedic methodology of not only detoxification, but really spiritual inquiry and revelation and shedding off the skin, right, of the past. And that includes stored memories and trauma and limiting beliefs and old ways of seeing. And as I was doing the Panchakarma, I had kind of a revelation about one of the core practices that you do as you prepare to do this deep detoxification. And that was that ghee is psychedelic medicine. If we think about the word psychedelic as the expansion of our consciousness, ghee can have that effect on us, especially if we have tuned our awareness to be more subtle and more connected to spirit. And I want to talk about it, and I want to talk about some of the history and the Ayurveda of ghee. But before we get into this really cool topic that I'm really excited to share with you, I just want to say this. We are only a few weeks away from starting our beloved, world-changing, life-altering, beautiful Ayurveda school. It happens one day a year, and this year it's happening January 14th. I hope you will join us. It's going to be such a beautiful year. We have so many new topics and teachers, and yeah, shoot us a line. Info at theshaktyschool.com. We have incredible payment plans, and we really do make it affordable for you. So hit us up, info at theshaktyschool.com, or links below to set up a conversation, a call with a real live human woman who has done the program, who is one of my beloved coaches now. So here's the idea, the psychedelic effect of ghee. Ghee is ancient lunar mother medicine. It affects your consciousness, and the ancient beings understood that. Ghee is not just fat. It's not just, clarified butter. It is the essence of the cow's nourishment to its baby. It's mama medicine. And the ancients called this soma. Soma, the Vedas speak of, is the nectar of immortality, the milk of moonlight, the fluid intelligence that cools and loves and nourishes and restores our mind after the intensity and heat and drama and trauma of life, of effort, of initiations that burn us down. So long before soma was known as a highly debated brew that, now in India is basically like marijuana, it was related to ghee as a terrestrial stand-in. Soma is considered the nectar of the gods. And we can see from the Sanskrit, it is called Smriti Vardhaka, the enhancer of your memory. And it literally helps our brain remember, but it also enhances us to remember who we really are. It's Midya, the nourisher of our higher intellect. It's Ojaskara, meaning the builder of soul immunity. And Yogavahi, it's a carrier that delivers medicine into the deepest tissues, including our mind. And so you can think about ghee on all of those levels, mind, body, and spirit, as the carrier. The ancient physicians knew that whatever ghee touches, consciousness remembers. That is why ghee is the primary, or what we call anupana in Panchakarma. And it doesn't cleanse like fire, it loosens our karma through love. And when I say karma, I mean trauma, right? Memory. So in Panchakarma, that's why we take ghee first before we do all the purgation and the sweating and the enemas and the elimination and sometimes the vomiting. We take a lot of ghee, and I mean a lot. I'm going to post a video to Instagram. I was like a ghee champion. I think I took 12 tablespoons on the last day. But why? Why are we taking so much fat? Fat absorbs toxins, but it also absorbs trauma and memory and identity. All these things are lipophilic, meaning we store trauma in our fat tissues, in our nerve sheaths, in our cell membranes, and in something called the myelin sheath in our body. We literally store things in our tissues. And you don't have to worry about like, well, where is everything, right? You don't need to know. Ghee enters these spaces gently and it whispers things out instead of ripping things through. You know, when we talk about healing from trauma, we really need to feel safe. And ghee enters these spaces really gently. It softens what's rigid. The Charaka Samhita talks about that. It lubricates what's stuck, and it makes the unconscious willing to speak because it feels like a warm, safe place. The body knows that it's getting this nourishment. Whereas if we fast, right, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different medicine. Fasting is more fiery and more forceful. So I had the craziest dreams during my ghee trip. I was having wildly prophetic, vivid dreams. People report in Panchakarma, and I've certainly experienced this during like the 9 of them that I've done, sudden emotional releases, unexpected memories, childhood memories, heightened intuition, psychic abilities, and yet like a very strange, tender sense of vulnerability and childlikeness. It's not detox psychosis, it's psycho-spiritual unraveling and uncoiling in a way that's really, really loving and really sweet. And people ask me all the time, Katie, what do you think about plant medicine? What do you think about plant medicine? You know, ayahuasca as a fad, I'm not a huge fan of. I think anything can be a medicine and anything can be a poison. It depends on the person, the time, the place, the environment, right? But if ayahuasca is solar, ghee is lunar. Ayahuasca is fire, it's vision, it's serpent intelligence, it's a confrontation for the ego, it's a spaghettification of the ego, it's truth through direct exposure, and it's often an uncomfortable, to say the least, violent grace. Ghee is moonlight, it's memory, it's ancestral milk, it's ego softening, it is always loving, it's truth by remembering, and it's grace through safety. Ayahuasca says, see what you are, and ghee says, come home to the love that you are. I feel like a lot of forms of plant medicine burn away the illusions, but ghee dissolves our defenses. I feel like a lot of plant medicine opens things by force, and ghee restores the mind and the chakra system by mothering it. In the ancient tradition, many of the forms of plant medicine open up the chakra system. And if we're not prepared for that, if we've never worked with the chakras, entities, things can get in. And we see that with our friends who've done a lot of plant medicine without the container of safety and tribe, a real loving community. They can go cuckoo. I've seen it with my students. And ghee is not going to do that to you. Right? Ghee is the feminine mothering intelligence. It is cooling, nourishing, grounding, clarifying, and it is feeding particularly our nerves, our reproductive essence, and our ojas. That is why in Ayurveda we associate ghee with fertility and longevity and spiritual steadiness and stability of the mind, and sattvic clarity, meaning you can see things very clearly, but you are calm. Ghee does not make you hallucinate. It makes you remember that your nervous system is safe, that your nervous system can feel safe. And when my nervous system has felt safe, my soul feels like she can come out of hiding and speak. So in classical Ayurveda, your mind doesn't just live in your brain, right? The mind lives throughout everything, especially the heart and the belly and the nervous system and the tissues that are saturated with fat. So ghee was prescribed for things like anxiety and insomnia and that kind of depression that makes you feel like nothing matters and nothing exists. It's prescribed for grief and actual memory loss and madness, insanity, possession states, right? Spiritual imbalance. Ghee lubricates the passage between the mind and the body. In other words, it lets the soul come into the tissues. It's like a carrier for spirit. Modern science would say, and we can see this, that ghee enhances our vagus nerve. It supports myelin integrity. It helps us dissolve but also resolve nutrient deficiencies, stabilizes our blood sugar, and over time can lower our cortisol. In Ayurveda, we talk about it pacifying vata and pitta, steadying prana, and inviting the mind to live where she likes to live, which is your heart. Ghee is the ultimate self-care. So that's why we use the ghee before we start the dissolutions, right? The purgations. It helps us collapse and dissolve and break and release and open and sob, which I've done many times during a Panchakarma, without breaking us down, right? It helps us soften. It is a psychedelic of devotion more than vision. So ayahuasca is like a confrontational initiator, and I feel like ghee is more like a relationship with something sacred. It's the opposite of intensity. It's all about coming home to the body instead of leaving it. So I know some of you out there might be like, what? Katie, aren't you just talking about clarified butter? Yes, I am. It is a lunar psychedelic. Let's talk about some of the more science aspects of it. So there are substances on the planet that stimulate us, right? Coffee stimulates us. Many of these forms of plant medicine offer us a hallucinogenic state that's stimulatory. And a lot of our modern culture wants to move towards more and more and more stimulation. But Ayurveda says there's another way to expand your consciousness that's a little bit more slow. It's a little bit more madhu vidya, right? Like the honey science. And this doesn't mean it's not incredibly profound and life-altering, but it's not about stimulation. It's about a neuropsychological spiritual technology that really helps us expand through slowing down rather than speeding up. And it's slow, right? It's butter. So let's talk about it, ghee and our mind, or let's focus in on like the nervous system. And it's beyond just like panchakarma. It's beyond just taking ghee for in like heightened amounts for a limited period of time. It's about having ghee in your life always, right? And this helps us stabilize the mind, but also avoid things like dementia and other degenerative diseases of the brain. So the human brain is composed of, some say, 60% fat. Your brain is fat. And the nervous system really depends on that fat for the myelin sheath, which is kind of a fatty lipid membrane that coats around your nerves. And also just all of our lipid membranes and fat soluble signaling molecules. And ghee is really unique because it has this thing called short chain and medium chain fatty acids and something called butyric acid. And fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K2. You've heard about how important vitamin E and vitamin K are, but if you can't absorb them, then you are not getting their benefit. So we always want to take these things with fat. And butyrate is one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory compounds for the gut-brain axis. It has in it epigenetic regulators, and it can help modulate our neuroplasticity. What does that mean? It means your brain stays younger for longer. You can actually change your brain. You can change your mind. You can learn new things. You're going to have improved mood, reduced anxiety, memory formation, and we can influence gene expression related to our reactions, our triggers, and our stress response. How crazy is that? Ayurveda is saying what science now understands. Ghee nourishes the Maja Dhatu, nerves, steadies our vata, right? Our reactivity and our anxiety, and it restores smriti, memory of who we really are. Another thing that's rarely said out loud, and I'm going to say it, and I learned this from the great Dr. Ladd, you store your family trauma in your fat. And men store it in stiffness more than women. Men store it in stiffness, women store it in fat, but we all store it. Stress hormones, inflammatory markers, trauma-related biochemical tendencies from your mama and your daddy and your grandmama and your granddaddy bind to fat. They're lipophilic. So when you get in the sauna, when you rub your body, like getting a massage, when you exercise, but especially when you detox and you do something like Panchakarma, where you're getting massaged for an hour and a half every day and you're sitting in a sauna, ghee is able to enter that fat tissue. The herbs that you take during Panchakarma that are cleansing can get down into that stored metabolic waste because your body loves you and it pushes things deeper into the tissue. When we start to warm it up and mobilize it, especially with ghee, the ghee can mobilize what has been held. But what's so cool about it is that these memories are painful and often involve like a certain level of shock, anger, rage, grief, unfathomable terror. Ghee helps mobilize all that shock and trauma without the terror. So that's why our emotional material arises before that deeper elimination can happen. In the words of my teacher, how it goes in is often the way it wants to come out. And so ghee helps soften the blow of that. In a modern terminology, you could say the nervous system can shift from sympathetic dominance to more parasympathetic. Our vagal tone increases. The brain perceives safety. And when all that happens, those suppressed memory networks start to become accessible and we can change. We can have a different experience. Isn't that cool? That's the psychedelic effect. A lot of psychedelics, and I worry about this with my students, they activate consciousness by disrupting the control mechanism, right? Ghee does the opposite. It restores regulation by instilling safety. Now, I think there is a time and a place, don't get me wrong. For some people, for plant medicine, I've seen it be very helpful for some of my friends that are military guys, and seen it work wonders, especially in very, very low dose titrated amounts, especially when done with a qualified therapist over a period of time. I know that the science exists, that this can be radically helpful for people, especially in super low doses and within the right nested setting of support. But I also see it be a nightmare for people who go on trips, who don't have a relationship with the people that they are doing it with, and then they go home and they're back in their old life. And so one of the things I just want to say out loud to the community is that often we are storing trauma that is relational. It got laid down in our early relationships with our parents or with people in our lives that may have been traumatic, right? And so if we go and we do an ayahuasca or whatever other methodologies, right, and we then leave, it can reinforce the very abandonment trauma that we have in our body to begin with. And so the sad part is people who have deep abandonment trauma are trying to get out of that, and they go and do these plant medicine journeys where the outcome is that they may and very likely will feel abandoned again. It reinforces the very same pattern that they are trying to heal. Ghee is the opposite of this. Ghee will never abandon you, right? Ghee restores regulation and don't take us into that disruption of control. So ayahuasca increases serotonin activity. It activates in the brain what's called your visionary cortex. It dissolves the part of our brain that sets up ego boundaries, and it does it really fast. You don't have a lot of choice. And for some people, especially the people that I tend to attract, it overwhelms an unprepared nervous system. Right. And so things like breath work, yoga, ghee, panchakarma, Ayurveda school, we help you prepare your nervous system to be able to do something like an ayahuasca journey if that's a part of your practice, or even better, to learn how to do these titrated forms of endogenous experience. That means we're doing it inside our body in a community over the course of a year or 2 years, which is the framework we offer you, in a way that is safe. Lunar medicines like ghee and deep loving breath work and food practices and devotional practices increase parasympathetic tone. And they create conditions for your ego boundary to dissolve organically and slowly. They create conditions for your insights to emerge organically and slowly over time. And guess what? You don't feel as much like you need to go do like a big thing to get that forced revelation, because you're getting that remembrance daily. That's Tantra. So I hope you can feel that I have a deep respect for traditional medicines from every society around the world, especially when they're held within the container of the culture. But I just want to make the case that there are other methodologies that are more feminine and more lunar and more organic, that don't blast your psyche open, but give your psyche a habitable place, right? Your body, your mind. Now, modern science agrees with Ayurveda's central premise: the mind lives just as much in the gut and the heart as the brain. Ghee helps that on like the basic level. It repairs your intestinal lining. It feeds beneficial gut bacteria. It reduces that kind of leaky gut syndrome and gut permeability. And as I said before, it enhances your ability to actually absorb nutrition. And that is super important because, get this, 90% of the serotonin, that like feel good chemical in the mind, is produced in your gut. So when we have an inflamed gut, we are going to feel like shit. We're going to have a bad mood, no clarity, no intuition. Literally, when our gut is unhealthy, it hijacks the third eye. We can't see the future with hope. So in Ayurveda, the gut is your Agni, the sacred fire of your intelligence. So ghee helps stabilize your Agni, your metabolic fire. That's why people say that when they've done Panchakarma, and I can tell you, having done 8 or 9 of them myself, ghee helps increase emotional tenderness, heightened intuition, a feeling of being held, reduced mental chatter, and this real deep sense of like, it's all going to be okay. I've got this internal embodied silence. Silence is not emptiness. It is this feeling of being at home and integrated. So you all know that in Ayurveda, we never divided the body and the soul. And ghee helps us really feel that ojas, right? There's a reason I named my dog Ojas. Ojas is the felt embodied experience of coherence, immunity, emotional resilience, joy, radiance without overstimulation. And when we have ojas, we feel clear and non-reactive and devotional. It's the same sort of state of consciousness that we all look for when we meditate or pray or do like mystical practices of any kind. Ghee really helps us prepare our body so that we can have those deep insights and visions. Why this really matters now is that I feel like, and I'm going to say the quiet part out loud, I feel like so many people that are doing the modern psychedelic culture are looking to run from something and chase transcendence without having yet learned how to deeply embody. And I realized that those initiations through fire can be an invitation into that deeper embodiment. But I'm inviting you to come into the body. I'm inviting you to actually feel safe before you go for ego death. Before we dissolve the ego, we need to feel our body and our mind are safe inside our own nervous system. Ghee is the number one way I've found to help burnout, trauma, sensitive nervous system people, and people that I know that are spiritual seekers who need grounding and embodiment, not escape and not transcendence. That's really, really true from what I've seen. And I'm so, so grateful for the medicine of ghee that has supported me to really feel safe on the planet, and why I'm inviting you into maybe getting some ghee. I'll give you some links to some really good ones. More importantly, I'm inviting you to come home with us this year. If you're looking for a place that you can be the writer of your own story and the sovereign priestess of your own spiritual temple, I have created a year-long school that can lead into a 2-year-long school, but we also have spirit sessions, so you get to stay every month with us for as long as you want. And it is a very powerful, loving community. We're not perfect. We're not fully enlightened beings. We're just regular women like you that want a home where we can unravel in a very loving way. And ghee is not the only way, right? It's one part of this deep story of soul return to the tissues of your body. If this sounds good to you, I really would love to see your face in our school January 14th. And if you're ready for your soul to not shout truth, but really learn how to listen, if you're ready to not like rip off all the veils that are blocking your light, but just soften them enough so that they can just like gently fall away in a way that melts you and other people. In a world that is obsessed with stimulation and expansion and attainment, I want to give you a place where you can feel that which has just been forgotten. We are not a place that's going to put anything new in you. It's a place of remembering. If you're ready to awaken through nourishment, to heal through laughter and community and goodness, if you're ready to transform through love, I know that the Shakti School is the perfect place for you. And guess what, lady? We are going to have a hella psychedelic year together. 2026, I'm going to be there. We do have limited spots. So if you're feeling the call, I encourage you to join us. All right, beautiful woman, go make a pot of milky tea and add a teaspoon of ghee. I'll see you January 14th. A big special thanks to Kevin Carlisle of Goodbye Gemini, who wrote this beautiful podcast music, and to DJ Juan Pablo Jimenez in southern Spain for mixing it and making it magic.